At Westbridge University, reputation mattered almost as much as grades. People were known for something: their talent, their ambition, their mistakes. Rumors traveled faster than truth, and first impressions often became permanent labels. Ethan Cole had worn his label for years: troublemaker, fighter, dropout in waiting. He didn't correct people when they whispered about him, didn't defend himself when professors looked at him like a wasted seat in their classroom. Let them believe what they wanted. It was easier that way. Ethan lived off campus in a rundown apartment above a closed-down bar, worked late shifts at a garage on the edge of town, and slept when he could. His mornings started with cheap coffee and loud music. His nights ended with exhaustion heavy in his bones. He wasn't stupid. He just didn't belong to the world that rewarded obedience. On the opposite end of campus life was Lily Parker. Lily believed the world made sense if you followed the rules closely enough. She woke up every morning at 6:30, no exceptions. Ran 3 times a week. Reviewed notes before breakfast. Her planner was color-coded and full months ahead. She carried responsibility like second skin, because failure wasn't an option. A scholarship student from a quiet coastal town, Lily had learned early that stability had to be earned. Her mother worked 2 jobs. Her father had passed away when she was 14. Education wasn't just a goal, it was survival. She didn't notice boys like Ethan Cole. At least, she told herself she didn't. Midterm week turned Westbridge University into a pressure cooker. The library was overcrowded, the air thick with caffeine and desperation. Lily had spent 6 hours straight reviewing biochemistry notes, her eyes burning behind her glasses. When she finally packed her bag, her arms were heavy with books she refused to leave behind. She checked her watch. Late. She hurried toward the stairwell, mind replaying enzyme pathways, barely registering her surroundings. That was her mistake. She turned the corner too fast, and collided hard with someone solid. The impact knocked the breath from her chest. Books flew from her arms, hitting the floor in loud, echoing thuds that earned several annoyed looks. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Lily gasped, dropping to her knees. "Damn. Hey, are you okay?" The voice was low, rough around the edges. Not irritated, concerned. She looked up, and her brain stalled. Ethan Cole. Up close, he was different than the version whispered about in hallways. Taller than she expected, broad shoulders filling the narrow space. Dark hair falling messily into his eyes. A faint scar cut through his eyebrow, giving him a permanently intense expression. He was already crouching, gathering her books carefully, like they were fragile. "Advanced molecular biology," he muttered, stacking them neatly. "Organic chemistry. Neuroscience." He glanced at her. "You trying to ruin your life or save the world?" Her cheeks flushed. "You were running." He raised a brow. "You ran into me. In the library. Emergency coffee situation," he said, unapologetic. She took the books from his hands, annoyed despite herself. "This is a quiet zone." "So is my brain without caffeine," he replied. She stood quickly, adjusting her bag. "You should be more careful. And you should look up once in a while," he countered, but there was no bite in his tone. Their eyes met. Something unexpected flickered between them. He handed her the last book. Their fingers brushed, just barely. Lily felt a strange jolt, like static electricity, and pulled her hand back immediately. "Thanks," she said stiffly. Ethan studied her for a moment, head tilted slightly, as if she'd surprised him. "You're Lily Parker," he said. Her eyes widened. How do you know my name? You sit in the front row in chemistry, answer every question. A small smirk tugged at his mouth. Hard not to notice. That unsettled her more than it should have. Well, she said, gripping her books tighter. Good luck with whatever you're doing. Same to you, Parker. She walked away quickly, heart racing, irritation and something else tangled tightly together. She didn't look back. But she felt his eyes on her until she disappeared down the stairs. Ethan watched her go, surprised by the sudden emptiness of the hallway. Lily Parker, the girl who never skipped class, who raised her hand when no one else did, who looked at him like he didn't belong in the room, and maybe she was right. He shook his head and headed for the coffee machine, annoyed at himself for thinking about her at all. They didn't see each other again for a week. Not really. They passed in hallways, shared lectures, existed in the same space without interaction. Lily kept her eyes forward. Ethan slouched in the back row, hood up, pretending not to notice her. But awareness lingered. On Friday night, Lily stayed late in the science building finishing a lab report. The halls were quiet when she finally packed up, the sky outside dark and heavy with clouds. She hesitated before stepping outside. Campus felt different at night. You walking alone? She jumped, heart pounding. Ethan leaned against the wall near the exit, hands in his pockets. Yes, she said. I mean I can. I'll walk you. That's not necessary. It's not a question. She studied him, uncertain. You don't have to. I know. Something in his voice made her nod. They walked in silence at first, footsteps echoing softly. You always stay this late? He asked. Midterms. Figures. She glanced at him. Why are you even here this late? Work, he said simply. She wanted to ask more but didn't. When they reached her dorm, she stopped. Thanks. He nodded. Any time. She watched him walk away, chest tight. That night, Lily stared at her ceiling long after midnight, thinking about Ethan Cole, and wondering when her perfectly ordered life had begun to slip. After that night, something between them shifted. Lily told herself it was nothing, just a coincidence, just courtesy, just a boy walking her home because it was late. But coincidences didn't repeat themselves 3 nights in a row. Ethan was always there, leaning against a wall near the science building, sitting on the steps outside the library, pretending it wasn't intentional. You stalking me now? She asked on the 4th night, trying to sound joking instead of nervous. He shrugged. You noticed. She rolled her eyes but didn't tell him to leave. They walked together through campus, conversations starting awkwardly, then growing easier. Ethan asked about her classes. Lily asked about his job. He spoke carefully, like he wasn't used to being listened to. You ever get tired, he asked one night, of trying so hard? She thought about it. All the time. He nodded. Yeah, me too. Just differently. That honesty caught her off guard. They started studying together by accident. Lily was reviewing notes in the student lounge when Ethan dropped into the chair across from her without asking. You look like you're about to fight that textbook, he said. It's winning, she muttered. He glanced over her notes. You explain things better than the professor. She frowned. You're just saying that. No, he said seriously. I'm saying you're smart. The word felt heavier than a compliment. They met again the next night. Then the next. Coffee became routine. Silence became comfortable. Lily learned that Ethan wasn't lazy. he was exhausted. That he skipped class because working late left him barely functional. That he read when he couldn't sleep. That he hated being touched unexpectedly. Ethan learned that Lily laughed louder than she thought she should. That she loved the ocean because it reminded her of home. That she was terrified of failure, not because of grades, but because of what failure represented. "You don't need to be perfect," he told her once. She smiled sadly. "Tell that to my scholarship committee." The trip to the coast happened impulsively. It was Saturday morning when Ethan knocked on her dorm door, hair messy, jacket slung over his shoulder. "Get dressed," he said. She blinked. "Why?" "Because you look like you're drowning in stress. And your solution is?" "A drive." She hesitated. "I have studying. You'll survive." An hour later they were on the road, windows down, music loud. Lily watched the city fade into open sky. "Where are we going?" she asked. "You'll see." The ocean appeared suddenly, endless and blue. Lily's breath caught. "Ethan," he smiled. "Told you." They walked along the shore, shoes in hand, waves licking at their ankles. The air smelled like salt and freedom. "This is my favorite place," she said softly. "Good," he replied. "I wanted it to matter." They stopped near the water. The sun was lowering, painting everything gold. "I don't usually do this," Ethan said quietly. "Do what?" "Care about someone." Her heart skipped. "Me neither." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth, hear his breath. "Lily," he said, like her name was something fragile. She didn't overthink it. She leaned in. The kiss was slow, careful, like they were learning each other's language. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "Okay," he whispered. "Yeah, that's a problem." She laughed softly. "Why?" "Because I'm not good at walking away." Things escalated quickly after that. More touches, longer looks, late nights that ended with them sitting too close, knees touching, breaths shallow. But something else followed them. Tension. Ethan was getting into trouble again. Missed classes. A fight outside a bar. A warning from campus security. "You're spiraling," Lily said one night, frustration bleeding through. He clenched his jaw. "Don't lecture me." "I'm not. I'm worried." He looked away. "That's worse." They didn't talk for 2 days. The fire happened on a Thursday night. An old dorm building. Faulty wiring. Alarms blaring. Lily was inside. Smoke filled the hallway fast. She coughed, panicked, heart racing. "Help!" she cried. Ethan heard the alarms from across campus and ran. He pushed past security, ignored the shouts, forced his way inside. "Lily!" he yelled. He found her near the stairs, frozen, smoke burning her lungs. "I'm here," he said, wrapping his jacket around her face. "I've got you." He shielded her as they stumbled through heat and chaos. They burst outside together. Lily collapsed into his arms, shaking. "I thought you left," she sobbed. "Never," he said, voice breaking. "Not you." That night, they didn't talk much. They held each other, and for the first time, they fell asleep together. The morning after the fire arrived quietly. Sunlight slipped through the thin curtains, painting soft lines across the walls. The world outside looked almost normal. Birds chirping, distant voices, the low hum of campus waking up, as if nothing had happened. But everything had. Lily woke first. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then she felt warmth behind her, a steady breath against her neck, an arm draped protectively around her waist. Ethan. The memory rushed back all at once. The smoke, the fear, his voice cutting through the chaos, the way he refused to let go of her even after they were safe. She lay still, afraid that moving might break the fragile calm. Ethan stirred anyway. "You okay?" he murmured, half asleep. She turned to face him. His eyes were tired, rimmed with shadows, but focused entirely on her. "I am now," she said softly. He exhaled, relief washing over his face. Good. They stayed like that for a long time, neither in a hurry to face the day. Eventually, reality crept back in. The fire had consequences. The dorm was closed indefinitely. Students displaced. Reports filed. And Ethan was called into the administration office before noon. Lily waited outside, anxiety twisting in her chest. When he finally came out, his jaw was tight. "They're saying I broke protocol," he said flatly, "that I put myself in danger." "You saved me," Lily said fiercely. "I know. They do too." He ran a hand through his hair. "But they don't like the example it sets." "What does that mean?" "It means one more strike," he replied quietly. "One more mistake and I'm out." Fear gripped her, because suddenly this wasn't just about them anymore. It was about futures. The weeks that followed were hard. Ethan tried, really tried. He showed up to class, cut back his work hours, walked away from situations that would have turned into fights before. It wasn't easy. Change never was. Lily struggled too. For the first time in her life, she was distracted. Her focus slipped. Her grades dipped slightly, not enough to threaten her scholarship, but enough to scare her. "You're allowed to be human," Ethan told her one night when she stared at a disappointing quiz score. "I don't know how," she admitted. They argued more than before. About time. About priorities. About fear. "You act like everything is temporary," Lily said during one heated conversation. "Like this, us, could disappear any second." "Because it could," Ethan snapped back. "That's reality." "And what if I want more than survival?" she asked. "What if I want a future?" He went quiet, because that was the question he'd been avoiding. The breaking point came unexpectedly. Ethan missed an important exam. Not because he didn't care. Because his boss scheduled him last minute. Because rent was due. Because the old instincts, survival first, took over. Lily found out later that night. "You promised," she said, hurt sharp in her voice. "I know. You said you were trying." "I am," he insisted. "But trying doesn't pay bills, Lily." She crossed her arms, tears threatening. "And what happens when trying isn't enough for us?" He didn't have an answer. They didn't break up. But something fractured. They took space. And it felt worse than any argument. A week later, Lily stood on the beach alone. The same stretch of shore where everything had begun. The ocean rolled endlessly, indifferent to human confusion. She hugged her jacket tighter, heart aching. "You always come here when you're overwhelmed." She turned. Ethan stood a few feet away. "I figured you might," he continued softly. They stood in silence, the distance between them heavier than ever. "I'm scared," Lily said finally, "of loving you more than my plans." "I'm scared," Ethan replied, "of being the reason you lose them." She looked at him then. Really looked. "You saved me," she said. "Not just from the fire." from a life where I never took risks." He shook his head. "And you made me believe I could be more than my past." The wind whipped around them, carrying salt and truth. "I can't promise perfection," Ethan said, "but I can promise effort. Real effort. If you're willing to choose me, not because I'm safe, but because I'm worth it." Lily stepped closer. "I choose you," she said, "but only if you choose yourself too." He swallowed hard, then nodded. "Deal." She kissed him first this time, not hesitant, not careful. Certain. Graduation day came faster than either of them expected. Caps, gowns, applause. Lily found Ethan in the crowd after the ceremony, heart racing. He held out something folded. A letter. "I got accepted into a vocational engineering program," he said. "Night classes. Paid internship." Her eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, I want a future," he said simply. "With you in it." They walked down to the shoreline one last time before leaving campus behind. The sun dipped low, familiar and comforting. "You know," Lily said, smiling, "we really did start with a collision." He laughed. "Best accident of my life." As the waves rolled in, they stood side by side, not perfect, not certain of everything ahead, but choosing each other. Every day.